Welcome to my YouTube channel. I am going to show you how to use conditional formatting and VLOOKUP in one video to create a auto-generated chart for temperature projects. Now, if you're not sure or familiar with a temperature project, that takes a lot of explaining, but I will try to make a brief explanation here. I do crochet. Some people do knit. Some people do cross stitch or other crafts. I'm also a science teacher, so when I heard of a temperature blanket or temperature project, I was really fascinated with it because it kind of combined the craft that I'm interested in, crochet, with science. So I have been at least planning out temperature blankets for the last 5 years or so, and been doing them. I haven't done them every single year, but they are something I'm very interested in. Right now, I am planning a 30th anniversary crochet blanket. So each square of the blanket, 30 squares, shows the temperature over that year for every 19th of the month. I was married on January 19th, 1991. So every 19th of the month, I recorded the high temperature, and I'm creating a square for each year that I have been married. So what you're looking at in this chart is a possible chart that could be used for 2021. I have the column with the dates. I have created a scale to use with the colors that maybe I might want to use. A lot of times people do use the full spectrum of colors, and I have used that myself before in the past, but I do like to change it up. You will see that I have two scales here, one that goes from the lowest to the highest up at the top. I usually arrange it that way because that's the way the thermometer goes, with the high temperature at the top and the low at the bottom. But because we need to use the VLOOKUP in order to auto-generate the name of the yarn, that can only be done if we put low to high. So I will show you that part in just a minute. First, let me give you an example of what we are trying to create. So for this particular blanket, I would like to use two different colors. I would like to do one square. I'll just give an example of a granny square, and that granny square would be done in two different colors. Now, actually, I could use the average also and do three different colors. I could even do four colors with low, average, high, and then a border. So there's lots of options. There's no right or wrong way to do this. My one suggestion in doing this is that when you do pick your colors, is that they should make some sort of sense. If you mix these colors all up, it isn't really going to look like, you're not going to be able to look at it and tell which were the higher temperatures and which were the lower temperatures. So when you pick your colors, you don't have to use all the spectrum of colors, but I would definitely put like colors near each other, and decide which one makes the most sense for the highest temperatures and which make the most sense for the lowest temperatures. So for this example, I did go from purple to red, but you'll notice that I skipped like oranges and yellows. So I'm not crazy about oranges and yellows, so I left them out. Anyway, so what this does is, let's say that on January 1st, the high temperature of the day was 65. I type that in, and it automatically shows that I need to use sage. And then for the low temperature, maybe it was 35. And so when I hit enter, it shows the purple. Now, on these two columns, you'll notice that it also tells me what color yarn I need to use. So it's really obvious, and I don't have to look at this and then come over and look at this again and try to find where the color it is. It tells me right there. So that's what we are trying to create, and I am going to show you how to do that. I don't always have my computer with me. This is loaded onto the cloud. I can look it up on my cell phone, or if I need to do a few days in a row, I can print out just the selection and have it on paper. So I've created an identical sheet over here, except it does not have any of the formulas in. So I'm going to show you how to create both the conditional formatting to make it change color, and also how it auto-generates the name of the yarn. So I'm going to highlight these two. I'm going to start with the conditional formatting. I'm going to come over here to conditional formatting and manage rules. And you can see there's no rules yet on this sheet, so I'm going to create them. I'm going to create going from here to here so that it matches this. That's much easier for you to compare to make sure you got every single one, as if you start with the bottom one. Unless you have this flipped around, then you could do it the other way. Okay, so then format only cells that contain, and we want to start with this one. We want to actually change this to less than, and then 41. And then we're going to format what the cell looks like in here. So I am going to click on format. I want to change the font to bold. I don't have to, but I'm going to change it to bold. And then I need to make it white. If I make it black, you won't be able to see it. So I need to change the color to white. Okay, but you see I did not pick the color here. So even I have the font that's white and bold, but you can't see it. I need to go to fill. And then you can just pick from these colors here. I've used a lot, and there are some colors that are kind of similar. So I just picked some hex colors so that I could make it consistent. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to type in the hex color that I picked out. Now, these hex colors are not exactly the same as the yarn. It's hard to kind of match the hex color exactly to the yarn, but I did want to make it somewhat close so that I could tell the difference in the chart. That was the most important thing. Okay, so I have my first one. Now I'm going to go to the next one. It's the second option here, but now I'm going to put between. So 41 to 43 is my next range. Bold, white, I can change that globally, but I'm going to keep doing it in my rules here. I am going to change the fill color to 353. Yes, this is a little time consuming, but it saves time in the end because once you have it set up and working, then you won't have to fool with it anymore. Check it, say okay. It puts it on top of that. I'm going to go to the next one. 44 to 46 is the next one. Okay, so now I have the first three colors, and then I am going to go ahead and finish doing the rest. If I were to say apply right now, you're going to notice that it filled in the entire thing purple. Okay, well, the reason that it is filling the entire thing in purple is because it sees the blank spaces as 0. And if you look right here, this is the color that would be for 0. So there is a way to fix that. I will show you what that fix is at the end of our conditional format. Okay, so now I have entered all of those numbers. You see them here. My column is still purple. So I have one last thing that I need to do. So for this one, I put greater than, just like the first one, I put less than, but I need one more thing in here to get rid of this purple. So I'm going to click New Rule, and the same thing we've been picking, but this time we are going to put blanks here, and we're not going to format it because we don't want it to be formatted. We just want it to be blank. Okay, stop if true, and then apply, and you'll see all that purple goes away. Okay, so now when I type in here 85, 56, it gives me the number. Now we need to put the word so that the words will pop up there. Okay, so I'm going to delete those for a minute. And now we are going to do the VLOOKUP. So now we're going to put an equal sign and then put VLOOKUP tab. So that will automatically put that there. Okay. So now we have to do each column separately. So we're going to do the high column first. So what we want to have happen here is for one of these words to pop up here. But first, those words are dependent on whatever is put in here. So the first thing, when it says lookup value, this is the value we want it to look up, which is actually, we're going to use this table right here, not this one. And we want it to look up whatever that number is here, and we want it to return this word. So we're going to highlight as the next thing here. We're going to highlight here and then put a comma. And then we need to tell it which table we're using. So we're going to come over here and we're going to highlight the table like that. Okay, now it's very important, since we're using a range and we're going to be applying the same formula down the entire column, that we do function F4 as part of our formula here. And then we're going to do a comma. And then it says column index number. Well, we want whatever column it is that says what we want to auto-generate here. So that's column 2. This is column 1, column 2. So we're going to put a 2, okay, comma, and then it automatically popped this up. You have two choices, true or false. Well, we would want false if it has to be an exact match, but it could be a range. So that's why we want the true. So I'm going to tab and then parentheses and then enter. Now you're going to notice that it says this NA here. So there's an additional step that we need to put in our formula in order for it to show a blank instead of NA. So in order to do that, we are going to put an if then, or if error. Okay, so we're going to put an if error so that when it comes up, it's not going to have that NA in it. So we're going to pause the video here for a second, and we're going to come back and enter. Okay, so you can see that I have had this long code right here. So this original code that we have was this part right here, up through the end parentheses right there. That's what we entered in order to get it to put in the name of the yarn right there. But we don't want it to say NA. So we needed to add this additional code at the beginning, if parenthesis is error, okay, and that goes right before here, that first parentheses. It needs to have an extra parentheses after comma, and then quote, quote, comma, and then you have to repeat the formula again. So you'll notice that it has 3 parentheses at the end, and then when I hit enter, then it returns the name and it leaves these all blank. So that is what you enter in order to get this to work. So now every time I put something in here, okay, it gives me the colors to use. So that is how you do both conditional formatting and the VLOOKUP in order to